So let's talk about the barbell deadlift. So the barbell deadlift is a great progression for exercise that we use once clients and athletes have a really nice hinge patterning. We built some strength throughout the low back through the hips, and we're confident in their ability to progress to a heavier weight, either 35 pounds or 15 kilos, or 45 pounds, 20 kilos with the barbell. Progressions you may have used to get into this is a dumbbell deadlift. Sometimes we'll use a sumo deadlift with a dumbbell or a kettlebell. But now you are ready to do your barbell deadlift. So a barbell deadlift, a lot of people get nervous with it because they're worried that they're going to injure their backs. The key to remember with the barbell deadlift is that while you are loading the spine, loading the low back, the mover of this exercise is the hip joint. So that includes glutes, that includes hamstrings. So with this exercise, the most important part is to remember a nice flat back position. So what I like to do for this one is I like to take a broomstick and put it down the back of our clients' shirts so they can really focus on their posture. So this broomstick is tucked down the back of my shirt. So I have it tucked down the back of my shirt so that my head can be in contact with the stick. It's tucked right underneath the bottom strap of my sports bra for ladies, and it's tucked into the bottom of your pant or the top of your pants so that it can stay in alignment while I'm using my hands. So what I want to work on in this deadlift is I want to work on maintaining this spine. That spine is this lower back core midsection region. So the big focus for this is keeping the shoulders on the broomstick, keeping the hips on the broomstick throughout the course of the movement. Bonus points, and ideally you're keeping that head stacked over the rib cage as well. So I have 3 points of contact. First point of contact is my head. Second point of contact is between the shoulders. Third point of contact is right between the top part of my back, top part of my shorts band line, okay? So with this one, now I'm gonna take this movement into my deadlift. We will always start people doing their deadlift, and what I recommend you do as well, call it a top-down deadlift. So what I've done here is I've adjusted my J-hooks so that my barbell is resting, where I can just grab the bar with straight arms and lift it directly off the rack. So when I'm starting with a top-down deadlift, what I'm doing is I'm giving myself an opportunity from the top portion of the movement to focus on setting my spine and being aware of where my back position is. As soon as I feel that technique break down, what I'm going to do is stop that movement pattern, I'm going to fix it, and I'm going to push up from there. If you come from a history of low back pain, upper back pain, what's good with this exercise is you're starting from the top, you're going down. As soon as you feel that low back kick in to try to take over the movement, you stop, adjust it, see if you can shift the weight more into the hips, more into the heels, and then push from there. So this is a combination of an awareness tool, but also a really good way to build strength throughout the course of a whole movement. So let me show you what this looks like from the side.
Start with those J-hooks set at a height you can easily walk the barbell back from. The key on this is maintaining that alignment we talked about while keeping the bar as close to my center of gravity as possible. So I always tell people to keep pulling the bar into their thighs as they're going down. For some individuals, they might only be able to get to mid-thigh or just above knee before they start to feel this movement in their back. And that's where we can start to pay attention to maybe positioning the pelvis differently, so more hingy versus less squatty and vice versa. It could also be working on just the position through the core and where they're getting tension. So a good cue here is getting the weight back onto the heels, trying to build tension through those hips, through those glutes, as much as possible for this movement. And remember, every body is different, so working into a half range of motion with the barbell is a great place to start.
So from the front of this positioning, what I'm looking at is I'm looking where my feet, if I go from my hip bones and I draw a straight line down, that's what we call hip width position. If I go from my shoulders and I were to take my feet directly underneath my shoulders, that's going to be shoulder width position. Typically when we're squatting, whether it's dumbbell, whether it's barbell, in front of me or behind me, my squatting will typically be from a wider stance position. I like to say shoulder width apart, toes out slightly. The deadlift will be a bit different, where my feet are actually a bit closer to hip width positioning, where my hands are placed on the knurling of the bar so that I leave enough room as I'm going down and I'm not knocking my knees together. So I'm going down, my hands are wide enough so I can get past the knee joint. I'm not hitting my thighs, and I can come up from there. If my hands are too close, let me show you what happens. So if my hands are too close, I'm here, and as I go down, my forearm starts to force the knees to come inward. That's why when you're repositioning and you're going a little bit closer, a little bit wider, I like to go the edge of my thumb where the knurling meets the smooth part of the bar, wrap the hands around from there, okay? Keeping the shoulders back, I slide that bar right down my legs, keep it nice and close, and then I come up from there. As soon as I start to feel that posture breakdown, I want to stop that movement. I want to re-engage through the shoulders and getting them back. I want to readjust that back position so it's a nice strong position and push up from the bottom of that. Remember, the big thing with the deadlift is the mover is the glutes, the hammies, your hip joint, okay? Again, we are loading the back indirectly. I should say we are directly loading the back, but it is a secondary mover in this exercise. So that is your top-down deadlift. Again, the top-down deadlift serves a purpose in teaching that deadlift pattern of hinging, elevator down, bringing the hips down while keeping the shoulders over the bar, maintaining that nice back position, and driving with the hips. When that movement becomes too easy, we progress so that plates are on the bar. So if you have any bumper plates, that's the ideal height of plate that you want, where you get that nice little lift off the ground. So if you've worked the mobility and the strength through that range of motion to be able to do your deadlifting from the floor, phenomenal. Let's talk about how you get into a good position.
This is called the set position or the wedge position. So start by pulling that barbell into your shins, and then you're gonna, with straight arms, set those shoulders down and use that bar as a counterweight to help you sit your hips down. Here, I want my hips just above that level with the knee where I'm thigh parallel. That's gonna let me push with my legs, come around my knee joint, stand up all the way, and then I'm resetting the torso exactly the way that I came up. I'm gonna go down. So I'm pressing with those legs, keeping those shoulders forward. Then I'm driving the hips through. From here, I'm hinging, pressing the hips back, and then I'm sitting down into the bottom of that position. When I'm setting myself up, again, I'm emphasizing those arms are straight, the shoulders are back. That sets my core position. As I'm pushing up through, I want to make sure I'm pushing through that whole foot to come up. Here, you'll see that breakdown of posture that's very common. For a lot of people, just getting into this wedge and set position is the hardest part of the deadlift. Now let's watch this from the front. So I'm going to start by setting my feet up so they're a little bit wider than hip width position with the toes pointing straight ahead. If you're limited in your knee or hip range of motion, feel free to turn the toes out slightly. You'll see that my hands are even on the knurling so that I'm centered on that barbell. And at the bottom, I'm pressing those knees out. Pressing those knees out is going to help to exaggerate my use of using my hips, my glutes, as I'm pushing up from the bottom of that movement. As I'm going back down to the bottom, I'm just working to maintain that core position. Congratulations, you've just completed your deadlift. Good work.